Good morning. It's Thursday, December 30th. And on Tuesday, a U.S. District Court Judge, Timothy Kelly, judge who was appointed in 2017 by Donald Trump. Now, this particular judge had to rule on several people who were accused of obstruction charges and things like that related to the January 6th insurrection. These are 4 members of the far-right Proud Boys group. And Timothy Kelly, the judge, allowed a criminal case relating to their activities to go forward. And they were claiming their First Amendment rights of freedom of speech. And they argued that the First Amendment of the Constitution does not clearly define exactly what freedom of speech is. But Kelly ruled that their activities are not protected by the First Amendment. They have been charged with violating a federal law that makes it a felony to obstruct an official government proceeding. And that's among other charges that these guys were charged with. So that has nothing to do really with the First Amendment. If you are trying to stop a government proceeding from proceeding, right, then you are not covered by the freedom of speech in the First Amendment. So that's what Kelly ruled. And this is one case in more than 230 of the 700 criminal cases that have been brought against the participants in the assault. See, notice in this particular article, they are not calling it an insurrection. They are calling it an assault on the Capitol. Well, it doesn't matter what words you use. You know, they were criminal actions that were taking place on that particular day. Let's not forget that people died and people were injured, right? We all know that 4 people died in that particular event. So there's no way to get around that. And hundreds of police were injured. But these guys, these Proud Boy defendants, said the obstruction law is unconstitutional because it's vaguely written and it could chill free speech rights. So now we have a situation in this country that free speech allows you to destroy buildings and trespass and climb the walls of buildings to take part in activities that we will call free speech. And it doesn't matter whatever the political motivations of this particular group were. They are not covered. They are not protected by the First Amendment. Not for the things they were doing. And the First Amendment allows you to stand on the street and wave a sign that you're unhappy with something. You can talk against the government. You can do a lot of things in free speech. But free speech doesn't mean you can go around and injure people, break into buildings, go through the private offices of congressmen and senators, picking up things you want, right? You can't go do that. That's not free speech. The defendants argued that they weren't burning flags, that they could burn flags, they could wear black armbands, they could participate in sit-ins or protests. Yes, you can do all of that. We never stop people from burning the flag, right? Even though that's a despicable act in my mind. And you know, sit-ins and protests have been the way. And that's a way that you can exercise your right to free speech. But you can't break into the Capitol building and claim it's free speech. And certainly one of the rioters were killed too. You think she was exercising her right to free speech when she was shot climbing through a window? So Timothy Kelly rejected those arguments for free speech And as I said before, he's a Trump appointee, and I guess we have to really consider that even though Trump appointed these people, many of them are honorable. They are judges. They may be conservative, but they are going to do the right thing. I am giving all of them the benefit of the doubt that they are going to do the right thing. And I think they're going to do the right thing because they weren't working directly for Trump. I think people like Bill Barr and some of those other people that were caught in the White House web and were ass kissers, they didn't do the right things. But I think these judges who are appointed are good people. And Timothy Wright is one of the good people. And I believe he ruled properly in this particular case. Because there's no way in hell that anybody could convince me that what happened on January 6th was an act of free speech. I've been to protest rallies. I've been walking on the streets on May Day when I was a kid down in Union Square, where the police were on horseback and made sure that we didn't get out of line. And there were no riots, and there were no real objections, and I don't ever recall anybody in those rallies getting arrested. And those were free speech rallies. There were people that weren't really happy with what we were talking about at those rallies. So if any of these guys are going to use this defense, this free speech defense in their actions, January 6th, they should be worried about this decision that Timothy Kelly made, right? Because I don't know that any other judge is going to, do something that Kelly didn't do. I don't think there's any other judges out there that have this and maybe are faced with this that are going to rule any other way, So these guys have been charged with the violation of a federal law, and I don't know what that means in terms of prison time or anything. But to me, it certainly seems like they should do some time somewhere, because they did a lot of damage. And you know what would be very nice? They went off to jail for a year or two, and they had to pay a certain amount of money for the restoration of the Capitol building. Pay for the repairs of the Capitol building, and maybe even be put to work on repairing the Capitol building. That would be a nice penalty for these guys, to pay for everything they did somehow. I mean, they've got 700 criminal cases, so they ought to be able to raise a few bucks doing that. And if you can't pay, then you should go off to jail. You should go to jail anyhow, and you should pay too. I think that would be an appropriate. So I leave you with that today. And I think that's a glimmer of hope in the dark cloud that's hanging over this country right now. So that's what I have to say this morning, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.